Hypnosis practitioners, what to say when your client is questioning you about the results from sessions or feels like the treatment isn't working because the issue isn't gone yet. Now, this is a question or a conversation that as a hypnosis practitioner, you're going to have a lot because healing is not linear and it's not often measurable. So even though improvements can be being made, and sometimes even changes are just being made in the subconscious, so we don't even know exactly what's happening to create the desired outcome or the healed result. And it's helpful to know how to have this conversation without feeling inadequate or kind of internalizing their questions, because this is normal. It's normal for people to want fast results. In fact, we have a whole diet industry based on it, where a lot of times there are like unhealthy practices that will create quick weight loss, but then mess up the body in while doing so, and then create more imbalance because of how much we want the fast result, right? We want to just take the pill. We want this to be fast and easy, but healing is not always like that. It's true that sometimes when we realize something or see something or shift something or release something, especially in the subconscious mind, healing happens fast. But generally speaking, healing is a journey, healing is a process. And this is a very valuable conversation to have with your clients, because we can tend to create even more beliefs around what's working and what's not working when we don't really know, in fact, that that's true. So, one of the ways that I explain this to my clients is with a line, kind of thinking of this way that they might notice how they say they have anxiety, that they drop down and then they're stuck here and it feels horrible. And then it takes them a long time to come back. And sometimes they experience highs and feel good or feel great. And then they're back down here and they're feeling horrible. And this is the pattern. And so, one way of looking at this, instead of this just being like, okay, now they feel nothing, or sometimes what medications can do is kind of bring that. So it's like, there's not really lows or highs, where often people will say, like, I don't feel that bad anymore, but I never feel great. And so, what we're looking at is we're not looking to go zoom, and we're definitely not looking to just be here, because that's unrealistic, right? As humans, we're going to experience highs and lows in our mood due to how we're thinking, due to our thoughts, due to our how we're experiencing our thoughts, and also due to just being a human being with emotions. So, what we're really looking for in terms of healing and progress is more that, like, this is what often happens when people use hypnosis for anxiety, for example, that when they go into that doomsday or into that dark or into that fearful thinking, they're going less bad, like it's less worse, or it's like, yeah, less bad, better. But I want to kind of say they're going less into it and then coming out of it faster, and then they're good, and then they are even kind of feeling better sometimes and staying feeling better. Or even when they go down, it's like there's more time in between that last time, and when they go down, they're going less down, coming up faster, feeling better. And you may have noticed I'm going this way, so it doesn't become this. That can often be the case, like I said, with regulating chemicals and responses with pharmaceuticals. Whereas or sometimes it can even feel like it's going like this, right? If no healing is being done and nothing is being done to really heal and resolve the feelings and the psychological habits of it, then it might feel like this, and it might very well be doing that, right? Getting worse, being less happy, less times of feeling good because your body and your mind and your being is telling you something is wrong. And that's pure depression, right? That goes from anxiety to depression, where then all of a sudden you're stuck. And then maybe you're told that you have a chemical imbalance, you know? Um, and I know that the holistic psychologist, she talks a lot about this too, Dr. Nicole LaPera, because often people just then they believe, oh, I have an imbalance, I'm depressed, when that signal is your whole being saying something has to change. Either you've got to leave that job, or you've got to leave that relationships, or you have to start caring for yourself differently, or you have to let go, or you have to reach out for help or support. So if we ignore that, or we just say it's a chemical imbalance, or even just attempt to level it out, it's still not healing. Then it just becomes coping and managing. And that's, as we know, as hypnosis practitioners, that we don't have to do that. We don't need to teach coping mechanisms or strategies, because we're helping resolve the problem. And that's why healing is so hopeful. That's why using hypnosis for healing is so hopeful, because it literally goes from this or this to this. There's always improvement. There's consistent, constant improvement. And this is the conversation that you want to have with your clients, because there's a few factors here, right? One, they probably need more sessions, because the issue and the mechanisms and the emotions and like the stuff that's created the problem has more layers to it. And then the more sessions you do, the more layers you get to, the better you feel. And then also the understanding that that outcome that they want, like say, no anxiety. This isn't even possible, right? As a human, we're going to experience anxiety, which is often just another word for varied emotions that we're feeling. But the triggers and the that can shift and become less and less. But if they're coming in expecting that to just go away, unless it's like just a fear or a phobia that happened because of a traumatic experience and we can resolve that, generally speaking, it's going to take time. And there's a lot of wisdom, right? Those issues that we have, until we really hear what our cells are telling us, what our bodies are telling us, what our minds are telling us, what our beings are trying to get us to see, that can go on. Except it's different when you're feeling better, it's less, it's more improved, you're feeling happier more, you're feeling content more, it's less. Then you can start to hear, then you can start to listen, and then they can start to know that they're on the path. And then even that, right, which is something I'm sure you do with your clients, continue to create the positive belief that they are improving, that they are getting better. And so I'll just finish this off with a story. Because I did have a client who, at quite a young age, had had many hip surgeries. It was something really from birth that she'd had issues with. And she was probably in her late 20s when we began working together. And she was very invested in the sessions and in the package. And, we saw so much improvement in so much of what she was working on, which I think was her anxiety as well. And then she'd had a surgery. Everything was healing really well, best ever surgery. And then she went to her doctor, and her doctor said, "Ooh, I really thought that left one wasn't going to heal as well, but it's doing awesome." Then from that meeting, by the time she gets back to me in her sessions, she said, "Now I don't believe it's healing anymore. And now every time I feel pain, I think it's getting worse. Whereas before, when I felt pain or discomfort, I knew it was healing." So you can imagine, like, we had to change that right away. We had to help her release that and see again how no, her body is always moving towards healing. That is what the body does. And just get her to erase that. Because if that would have kept going, then that's already creating a belief, which is what happens when we're doing this, right? Things are getting worse and we feel they're getting worse and we see them getting worse and then they keep getting worse and then they're getting worse and then they're getting worse and then we see them getting worse. Instead of we start believing things are getting better. And then as we see they're getting better, we keep believing they're getting better and then they're getting better and then they're getting better and then they're getting better. So that's one of the first things that we do with a client. So I said that before, like one of the first things we have to do, regardless of what kind of script you're using, if we don't instill and help them get to a place where they believe that they can feel better, that's the first thing. And not only that, getting them to imagine feeling better, getting them to know, okay, even when things are difficult, this is healing. I'm going to do another video after this, just talking more about healing and what it looks like, because it's not that pretty. And again, it can kind of make people feel like I'm not healing or this isn't happening. So that's my advice, right? This is a way that you can have a conversation with your clients around the process of healing and what that might look like. And again, what's possible. And remember, your success is a success for all. Ciao for now.